All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First off, I would like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praise unto our power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachaha Kwadash, and double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace, love, salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with 144,000, the rest of the 1/3. All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. I'm the brother Ha'amayan from the Great Millstone, Columbia, Georgia Church in Albaratazah. Once again, this be an edifying lesson, exhorting straight to the point. You know, me as a young man in this truth, young babe, want to implement and apply these things, which I'm about to read even more, to be an example to Yahweh Shema Shai, to be pleasing Yahweh Shema Shai, and in your church, you know, in your camp, you know, around the heads and elders of your church and brothers, period. You know what I'm saying? Good behavior, good behavioral traits, and, you know, good characteristics, and so forth, so on. So I got the definition of the word laconic. It says of a person, speech, or style of writing using very few words. So getting straight to the point. And you can see right here, I titled the lesson To the Point. And I have some precepts which I'm going to read. I just queued them up, cap it and paste it so I can read it, because I am in transit. And that word laconic is also like a synonym for the word reticent. And I never forget, I heard the elder Apostle Gabar bring out that word a few years ago, and that always stuck with me. Ooh, excuse me, Shalakia. So this is Colossians chapter 4 verse 5. It says, walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. Let your speech be seasoned with salt, man. Watching what we saying on these videos, making sure we, you know, ain't letting our emotions get the best of us to the point where we ain't using wisdom on a lesson, even in our day-to-day walk at the job, dealing with, you know, the people. Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 5 verse 10. Be steadfast in thy understanding, and let thy word be the same. Be swift to hear, and let thy life be sincere, and with patience give answer. Be swift to hear, not swift to talk. And that's a trait a lot of us came out of the world having. You know, some may have not been as bad as others, but the fact that majority of the people want to be heard, gotta talk, don't know how to zip their lips, you know, and gotta, you know, maybe when you speak, get to the point, break it down. Sometimes it may not be expedient to speak, or, you know, be swift to hear. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You know, once again, I'm applying this to myself. You know, if thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor. If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth. So if you have the understanding, yeah, you know, get to the point, break it down, you know, speak on it. If not, hey, cover your mouth, don't even say nothing, you know. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of man is his fall, man. That tongue, that little member, man, you know, for real, that tongue get you in some things, man. That's why we beg the Lord for mercy and ask Yahweh Shema Shai to, you know, forgive us for things we've done, said, you know, have mercy on us. You know, Sirach 20:5, there is one that keepeth silence and is found wise, and another by much babbling becometh hateful. You know, now this silence is a good silence, because you got in Sirach, let's get that real quick. Let me be real quick with it. Is it 24? No, 19. Salakia. This is Sirach 19 and 26. And it says, there is a wicked man that hangeth down his head sadly, but inwardly is full of deceit. See, we don't want to be that type of silent where, you know, you seeming like you humble, because being humble ain't being just quiet. Nah, man, you considering, You know, you're contrite, and you know, so forth and so on, man. Being meek. Not this scripture where it say there's a wicked man that hang up his head down sadly, but inwardly is full of deceit. You know, his spirit, man, really got motives and, you know, trying to play that role like he sincere, whatever the case may be. We don't want to be like that, man. We want to be obedient, man, at the end of the day, to the best of our ability. We already in jacked up bodies, bro. We already, you know, in captivity, man. We don't want to worsen our hell, meaning condition. You know what I'm saying? So just want to speak on that, bring that precept out. You know what I mean? This is Sirach chapter 20, verse 6. Some man holdeth his tongue because he hath not to answer. And some keep a silence knowing his time. That's a beautiful trait, especially as a young man, because this is how we ought to be operate anyway. We're amongst the elders and first, second commands, heads and elders, and, you know, older men in the church, in our camp, you know, in the brotherhood, in the body, you know, even amongst the younger brothers, you know, let that brother get his point off, man. You know, let that brother speak, you know, hold your horses, you know, raise your hand when you want to say something, you know. No, just want to look out for those things, man. You don't want to be trying to make yourself equal with men, which I got that precept down here too. It's Ecclesiasticus chapter 20, verse 7. A wise man will hold his tongue till he see opportunity, but a babbler and a fool will regard no time. Now you just gonna be like running, like a running faucet, man. You just you like what they call in the world motor mouth, just running. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like that. Ecclesiasticus chapter 33, verse 4. It says, prepare what to say, and then thou shalt be heard, and bind up instruction, and then make answer. You know, that's being very organized, man. Being, you know, putting out, even putting these lessons together, putting your precepts together, knowing what you're going into, getting to the point. You know, all these things matter, man. You know, because we was taught by men who perform in that way. You know, speak. This is Sirach 32 and 7. Speak, young man, if there be need of thee. If there be need, not if there be want. If there be need. So if it's not needful, bro, you ain't got to speak on that. Once again, I'm saying this to myself. I'm applying this for myself now. You know, it says, and yet scarcely when thou art asked twice, man. You know, sometimes elder brother over you in your camp maybe like, oh, you had something to say? Nah, you got it. You sure, bro? You know, then you may speak on it. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you ain't just happy-go-lucky to, oh, I'm trying, let me say something. Nah. You know, like, bro, calm down, because read the room. You know, you don't want to give out that example to younger brothers, you know, and when they become teachers and get to preaching, now they got that habit, and it's not a good look, you know? You know, it don't mean that man ain't a brother or whatnot. You just don't want to create a bad habit. You know, you don't want to do that. We just want to be on point to the best of our ability, man. Because that lighten up the load for the men that's over us, man. You know, them brothers on point, and brothers, you know. Then when we go out of town and visit, you one way around other beautiful men, heads, camp heads, and apostles or whatnot, and amongst your church. You know, you're disorderly in that fashion, in that way right there. Sirach 32 and 8. Let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. And that's a beautiful skill. Get to the point. Be as one that knoweth, and yet holdeth his tongue. You know, you can be one that know, you can know a lot, man, but is it expedient? Because really, do you even understand what you so-called know? Or you done heard it, you got a photographic memory of it, and know how to say it just like the apostle or the brother or the elder, you know what I mean? Or did you take your time and you know you got understanding? Even in the midst of that, guess what? Let that speech be short. Get to the point. Summarize, paraphrase it. Boom. Keep it simplistic. Just boom. Get straight to the point, man. It says, if thou be among great men, you know, apostles, heads of camps, elder bishops, and you know, specifically in your church, elders of your church. But you know, even like I said, apostles, elders, men, older men, great men in the faith, It says, make not thyself equal with them. Read the room, man. I'm a baby, man. I'm young in the truth, man. I ain't got no business trying to overtalk, get my point across at nothing. Let me just zip my lips and just keep my ears open. Serve brothers, clean up the house, or, prepare the food for brothers, or, whatever you can do. But when it comes to running that mouth, that ain't right. It says, and when ancient men are in place, use not many words, man. Use not many words. It's a beautiful attribute, man. So that pretty much concludes what I had, man. Like I said, I had a few precepts queued up. Just wanting to tie in, go in, bring out some precepts based on the title, man. To the point, to the point, man. Get to the point. So, yeah, that's it. So I brought this out. This was an edifying lesson to the Lord, sincere sheep and believers. I would like to close out by giving all glory, honor, and infinite praise unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash, and double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace, Lord, salutation to the hopeful elect, starting with 144,000, the rest of the 1/3. Till next time, Kwame Yasha Allah, keep the faith, Shalom, Lahabaka Aryam, to the elect, Shalom.